Hey YouTube, so I thought I'd do a video really quick. This subject came up to me just now on my walk, and the question would be, is Bogota worth the extra expense compared to Medellin? And I feel like the answer to that question is definitely yes. Now, is that discounting Medellin? No, not at all. Medellin's a wonderful city. Definitely, if you're a fan of the sunny weather, the vibrant nightlife, the young people's party scene experience, Medellin is going to be for you. But in my mind, the advantage of paying the extra cost associated with Bogota is multifold. So the first example that comes to my mind, and this is most obvious, is that Bogota is going to have more international flights. You're going to have an easier time getting out of the country or out of the region, flying out of a place like Bogota than, say, Medellin. It doesn't mean to say that there aren't plenty of flights to Medellin, but it's simply not as, it's not the capital. It's not the capital like Bogota is. And so that's going to be the first thing that I think is worthwhile, is that if you're based in Bogota, you're going to have an easier time getting those flights. And another thing that makes it worthwhile to be in Bogota is that here you can have a lot more international food. So if you like food that is from other countries, that's going to be easier to have here in Bogota than Medellin. And if you do find it in Medellin, in my experience, it's more expensive. It seems counterintuitive or ironic, but many of the seafood restaurants or the seafood restaurants I did visit in Medellin. Now, I know a lot of people say, why did you eat seafood in Medellin? But I was hungry, and it's a city of 6 million people. So they were like 14, 15 US for a meal, whereas here in Bogota, I go to Cevicheria Central, and I can have a really good meal there for the equivalent of 8 to 9 US. And it's fresh seafood, and it's the portion is right, and it's more economical. So ironically, for somebody like me that does like seafood, there may be the sense that I can do that more economically in Bogota than I can at a place like Medellin. Now, I'm not going to say you can't spend a lot more than that here. There's certainly a lot of fine dining restaurants that you can pay just as much or more than you'd pay in the U.S. For your meals, but or for what you're expecting to spend on meals. But that's another big benefit that I feel like spending a little bit extra to be in Bogota. Ironically, my hotel is about the same. My hotel price is almost identical. The difference being I have a shared shower and restroom here in Bogota versus having my own private in Medellin. But there's other things that have helped keep my costs down in Bogota, and the seafood thing is one that I simply wouldn't be able to eat it very often if I was located in Medellin. And if I do, it's perhaps not going to be fresh. It's more likely to be cooked seafood, and I tend to like a lot of raw fish. Being Asian American, being part Japanese, growing up eating sushi, it's what I'm used to. So we talked about the advantage of having more food options. We talked about the advantage of having the airport here in Bogota. What else is good here in Bogota? Personally, this is going to be something that maybe some people find superficial, but I'm a really big fan of the architecture in Bogota. I find that you get a lot more skyscrapers and buildings that seem to really stretch into the sky. And Medellin definitely has plenty of tall buildings. I'm not, once again, not talking bad about Medellin at all. Had a wonderful time there, but if I were posed the question, is Bogota worth the extra expense? I do give some scenarios where I think it would be. For other people who don't like seafood at all, who don't plan to travel internationally, they're going to be much happier in Medellin. They might think that Bogota is much too cold and windy, and that's just off-putting to them. But pose the question: are you getting more? Are you getting proportionally more for having to spend more money here? And I think the answer is yes. Also, if you're somebody that likes to be based at a place for, say, a month, and you want to do more tourism as far as museums and things of that nature. There's several more museums here in Bogota than in Medellin, so there's going to be more options. Like if you work 5 days a week and take Saturday, Sunday off, legally, of course, following the visa requirements, the business requirements, all of that, then you can look at a place like Bogota as having more of those types of excursions. Another thing is art galleries. There's certainly art galleries in Medellin, but because of the population numbers, Bogota is going to have more of that. So that's something to think about as well. What else? The nightlife is another question that I'd probably get posed. I can't really say, unfortunately, due to the pandemic. The nightlife is basically shut down, so I can't really comment on that. I will say there, as far as being a guy that likes gals, there are a lot of beautiful women in both cities. I'm sure there are beautiful women throughout the country. I just have only spent time in Medellin and Bogota. But the people are, it's harder for me to tell. That's something that you'd have to ask more of a local, or perhaps watch more locals talk about it. It's harder for me to tell the differences between Medellin and Bogota as far as from a people perspective. I will say in Bogota, people seem more hurried, more in a rush. They seem more focused on work. In Medellin, it seems a little bit more laid back. People are a little bit more family oriented. People are a little bit more community or social oriented. I notice, it may just be the district or the places that I've gone, but it seems like a lot of the people that I see in the streets and around are here for work, whereas in Medellin, I saw lots of people engaging in different kinds of outdoor activities. That seemed to be a bigger deal in Medellin. People are healthy here, but in Medellin, it's just a whole new level. If you're an outdoorsy kind of person, you're going to be really happy in Colombia in general, I think. But that's something where, for me, I just don't, at this point in my life, have as much time to do that as I'd like. And that's why, and that's another area where I would think Bogota is worth it for me now. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, who knows? Maybe I prefer the slower pace of Medellin, the milder, the warmer, weather. But as far as from a perspective of getting things done, there is that advantage where you're spending a bit more to stay in this city, but you have the advantage of being in that kind of hardworking environment where you see a lot of people hustling and trying to improve themselves. It's got kind of a Chicago or New York City vibe in ways that really stimulate a person to get things done. And I feel like this is a city I can be productive. It definitely, I know he's a controversial person, but that I have to give a nod to Nomad Capitalist, because this city has some overlap in my mind with some of the things that I really enjoyed about Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I really liked Kuala Lumpur, and I find that Bogota has some similarities. Both of these cities, in my mind, are places you can be productive. And I think I have a harder time in smaller cities, some smaller cities than the non-capitals, feeling that energy as much, feeling that drive as much to really get things done and to be efficient. And here it feels like this constant energy, this pulsing heartbeat that even if it's the middle of the night and I come out here, you probably see and hear different kinds of cars going by, and we're here it's probably 8 or 9 p.m. and this is a business district, so you think after work a lot of people are going to go home, but in fact it still has that lively atmosphere, whereas in Medellin, I didn't really do that as much. There wasn't as much to do after, say, 8, 9 p.m. There was many fewer people walking around. It didn't have that all-night sensation. So if you're somebody that likes to work late, work long hours, just really get a lot of things done, if you don't have the choice, then I think you're going to find I'll spend 20% more on Bogota. When I looked up the first cost of living comparison said 10% more. I think it's more accurate to say like 20% more, because you're going to pay more for cabs. and you're gonna have more opportunities to spend money on a lot of different things than you would in Medellin. Because the big thing is unlike Medellin, there's only bus public transit, so they don't have a train line like they do in Medellin. So you may find yourself, if you took the train in Medellin a lot, that you do spend on the taxis here. But I think all that being said, is Bogota worth the price difference? Yes, yeah, I think so. Not a knock on Medellin, love the city, spent 2 months there, don't regret it at all. But if I were somebody that was trying to weigh the factors, look at the factors I mentioned. We talk about that business climate, we talk about the airport, we talk about international cuisine, that sort of 24/7 vibe. And anyway, I hope this video has been helpful. My name's Alex. Definitely comment down below and let me know what you think. If you agree with this, my sentiment or my assertions, let me know. And if you disagree, if you feel like it's not worth the extra money to come to Bogota, if you are a much bigger fan of Medellin and you don't care for the overcast weather here, let me know what you think down in the comments. And give us a thumbs up if you like the video. That helps with the YouTube algorithm. And finally, subscribe. If this video has been helpful, definitely subscribe and you'll get more and more of my content. And anyway, I wish you the best and I'll see you next time.